What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA. That's not right. NFL strategy. Too much stuff going on these days. Strategy show presented by Prize Picks. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, breaking everything down for Saturday's main slate, Christmas Eve. And then we won't talk Sunday, but we'll have plenty of stuff for that. Live before lock, all of that. Deeper dive on Christmas Day. You won't see me for that, but you got a great crew, no less. Joining me, Neil Orfield at Player Q DFS. 10-game slate, man. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is one of the weirder slates that we've had, not just being on Saturday, but with so many games having weather concerns. This is just one of the weirder slates I've seen, but I'm looking forward to it.
There are so many games with bad weather. We've seen this before. It's not to say like it's unprecedented or anything, but this whole, weather pattern or whatever it is that's taking place throughout the country, it's hitting almost everybody. Look at the totals in some of these games. I went through it yesterday with Ben. There were like 7 teams with sub 17 totals. Game totals: Cleveland, New Orleans, 32.5. Chargers, Broncos, 36.5. That would be the same case if it was in a dome. Titans, Houston, 37. Jets, Jags, that's Thursday, but that's 37.5. Baltimore, Atlanta, 37.5. San Fran, Washington, 38. Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, 39. That is a lot of games with sub 40-point totals.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And it's, of course, I know people are tired of hearing about best ball, but that's all that's on my mind lately with some teams left in best ball. I'm thinking is who has good matchups. And it's like, man, nobody has good matchups. Even if you have like the Saints have a great matchup in theory against the Browns defense, but they're not going to be able to throw the ball at all because the winds are so great. It's a mess, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, hey, the wind right now in Cleveland, they're talking about, if you look at kickoff, feels like minus 11, 26 mile per hour winds, very, very little visibility. It's that game to me. I'm not saying it's like a pure stay away. I actually can't wait to talk about the running backs there. Yeah. But there are some of these games where the passing game is already bad. Like the passing game in this one is already unappealing. So now what do we do? Does Alvin Kamara finally start to see more opportunities in the passing game as just dump offs and let him go to work? Does Nick Chubb see 25 carries because the wind is so bad? Like these are the things that I'm looking at that'll make this slate even more interesting. I don't want to just go, hey, pure fade, stay away spot because of the total. Maybe it forces these teams to give massive usage to their best players, and they just so happen to be at running back.
Yeah, so that is my first instinct as well. So that's probably what they're going to do. I think that is true. The running backs are likely to have a ton of opportunities. The real question then it becomes like, well, if the defense knows that, are they going to be able to stop them? And these aren't the best run defenses. They're both pretty bad run defenses. But if they just focus entirely on the run, is this a benefit? Does it hurt them? Like they're going to get more opportunities, but they're going to be going up against a stacked box. I honestly don't know what to make of it exactly, but definitely makes it more interesting.
Happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below if you're watching after the fact. We love to hear from you guys, whether you're live in chat or you're watching after we're live, or you're listening in podcast form. We see you guys too and appreciate you all. Leave a comment or leave a rating, a review. That stuff's so helpful to us. Subscribe to the podcast more than anything. Hey, word of mouth is the greatest form of advertising, right? So if you like this stuff, you think it's helped you, tell your friends. I know you're saying like, yeah, it helps me. Why would I tell my friends? It's the giving season. It's Christmas. It's time to be thoughtful, not just for them, but for us as well. So anyway, we've got a few days before Christmas. Christmas Eve slate is so fun, man. Like I wish every year we could do this where you're getting a few Christmas games and then all the other games on Christmas Eve, a full day of football, Thursday football, Saturday, Sunday, then Monday football. You can't ask for more than this, Neil.
Yeah, I also love that it's a 10-game slate on Saturday. and a 3-game slate on Sunday for the purpose of like just beyond DFS, season long best ball, that kind of stuff. Just on Sunday, we're going to have 3 games. You're going to know exactly what you want to happen for the most part throughout the day. Like you're going to be able to track, exactly the outcomes that you want in best ball, in your season long playoffs, that kind of stuff. So I really do love the schedule this week. We've still got our Thursday night and our Monday night games as well, but it's going to be fun having the 10 games on Saturday and then just 3 games where you kind of know what you want on Sunday.
Let's dive into it.
Yeah.
As we do here on the Ownership Show, we go running back, wide receiver, tight end. Then we look at top stacks. That's how we cover quarterbacks in a spot like this. Ben and I, at the First Look Show, we go all position by position. So differentiate a little bit here. Make it so you guys are getting something new every day. Before we do though, Neil, week 15 review, Millie Maker winner, another single bullet, another solo entry. Listen to this lineup, okay? I would have Tyler put it on the screen if I knew where he was. Listen to this lineup. Let's go. Millie Maker, Tyler, pull that up. Patrick Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier, AJ Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Zay Jones, Travis Kelce, Rashid Shaheed, and the Titans defense. So we talk all the time about how hard it is to hit on that stack for the Chiefs. Well, this guy does it with a single entry. And of course, one of the players in his stack isn't one of those many wide receivers or pass catchers they have. It's Jerick McKinnon and Juju and Travis Kelce with Mahomes at 0.3% Tyler Algier, a 3% Rashid Shaheed, and then Zay Jones hauling in 3 touchdowns. Heck of a day for this fella.
I'm blanking on who the Chiefs played this past week.
Houston. They went to overtime.
Oh yeah. Okay. And this does not have any run backs then from Houston.
No, you can't. Chris Moore, I guess, would have been the only option there, but I don't blame the zero run
Chris
back.
Moore. No, I don't either. I don't think I required a run back from the Chiefs last weekend, but yeah, I mean, the triple stack is something you don't see very often with obviously McKinnon being included in that triple stack. Makes sense that he is involved in the passing game. We've seen him have some really big games where he scored multiple receiving touchdowns. So, and it worked out. I'm surprised that Juju made it into the winning lineup. I don't think Juju had a big game. Maybe I'm misremembering. I think he had like a fine game, but not anything spectacular. I know MVS scored a touchdown last weekend. But yeah, Travis Kelce did just enough. There were some big tight end performances this past weekend. So kind of surprised to see that Kelce made it into the winner. Obviously Rashid Shaheed had a good game. Zay Jones had the game you needed. Tyler Algier had a great game. McKinnon again had that game you needed. So yeah, it makes sense that this is a lineup that would win, and good to see that it's stacked. It's I don't often play the triple stack, but I would have allowed for this lineup in my builds this weekend. So I like it.
For sure. Matt Riley said McKinnon is kind of one of those, and then quotes, pass catchers too. Of course he is. Yep. What I'm saying is that there are so many actual, wide receiver tight ends, like even the Noah Grays and such, and Kadarius Toney being back, right? Like,
these guys that I've been trying to force into lineups all year with MVS and Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman was working out when he was healthy early in the year, but I've been trying to play these Chiefs pass catchers, and it's like the peak you get is like a 10-point game. And then of course, Jerick McKinnon can do better than that just through the passing game.
Exactly. Well, how many games did we see this year where like Mahomes still has 30 plus, but none of his pass catchers are necessary? Like if you read Naked Mahomes, you probably could have won tournaments.
Right. It's like, Travis Kelce probably scores a touchdown, gets you like 16 fantasy points, but he's like double the price of any other tight end. So it doesn't necessarily help you. Yeah. And we've seen it too often for somebody who played a lot of Mahomes this year. I'd say we've seen it too often.
Yeah. And 11 of McKinnon's fantasy points came on the ground. He had 52 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. Yeah. Okay. So I think he had like 8 for 70 and a touchdown through the air. So it was, a multifaceted kind of approach there, but yeah, how about that? It's honestly not even a crazy lineup. Like, I don't think I would have gotten it. If I'm playing a single lineup, I can assure you that Algier would not have been in it. Nope. Right? Like, there's just no way I'm getting to that. With one lineup, I would have had a tough time getting to a triple stack with Kansas City. Not to say it's wrong. It won, but it was just, you and I have just discussed it so often that when you're doing that, if you're playing 1 or 2 entries, doing it with like the full out Chiefs onslaught without a run back. Cause my assumption is that this guy, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but likely assumed that this was going to be a Chiefs rout.
Yeah.
And then it went to overtime, which is even crazier because that overtime production got him the win.
Yeah, no, did anybody do anything? I mean, the Texans took him to overtime. Somebody must have scored some fantasy points in the game. I know Chris Moore had like 8.2 fantasy points. I think he had 8.2 in the first half and then did nothing for the rest of the game. I had some Chris Moore, so that was disappointing for me. But yeah, I'm wondering if there was a run back that could have even worked from the Texans. I don't remember any like killer games for the Texans, but yeah, maybe I'm just not remembering right. But yeah, this is as I said, this is a lineup that if I were making this lineup in Fantasy Cruncher, I would have allowed for it because I do allow, typically I say at most 2 running back, wide receiver, tight end, unless paired with quarterback. So then this one would have come in with that caveat, and I probably would not have required a run back. So theoretically, this lineup could have made it into my set. We've seen some this year where the Millie Maker winner is just one that I could not have gotten to. But this one I actually could have, obviously I would not have in a 150 set just because I don't know if I would have had any Rashid Shaheed. I'm not sure.
What about Tyler Algier? You have any of him?
I think I did play some Tyler Algier. Oh, no, I did not play any Tyler Algier. I had some, this is again, my best ball brain is too strong right now. I had some Tyler Algier in my best ball lineups,
Gotcha.
Not in DFS. Yeah, I would not have played him.
All right, let's get into it. Hey, glad you guys are here. Let's start talking some week 15 or week 16 football. 3 weeks to go. So at the top, Christian McCaffrey against Washington, Derrick Henry against Houston. I know they're going to be popular. I don't really care this week. Like when it comes to Derrick Henry, I have a very difficult time thinking that I get away from this. It also we do have to consider circumstances late in the season too. Go ahead and look at the odds. Go ahead and look at the AFC South division winner odds. Tennessee is at -150. Okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars, after that overtime victory against the Cowboys, are +125. And the only way either of these teams are getting into the postseason is for them to win their division, essentially, at this point. So, yeah, looking at this game, how important it is for Tennessee after dropping, 3 games straight, I think now? You need a win. And Derrick Henry trounced them earlier in the year, 200-plus rushing yards. You have no Dontrell Hilliard. He's on the IR. So like I pointed out this is why we were on the over receiving prop for Henry, which he just smashed. Now you're looking at decent pass catching production, maybe 4 or 5, even 6 targets. I'd say 4 or 5 for Henry. I just absolutely love him in this spot at home against Houston. And it's going to be bad weather there as well. They're going to run the ball a shit ton.
And it's been not just the last game against the Texans. It's like the last 5 games against the Texans have all been like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like just like you look at the box. I mean, you should not be making, should not be box score chasing, especially into past seasons. I mean, not even this year, but even going back, it's not a good idea. But just looking at it, it's like, yeah, Henry just absolutely crushes this Texans team historically. And we have no reason to think it's going to stop in this game. As you said, the Titans do have a 21 implied total. They're just going to be running. You'd think they should be just running constantly if they're trying to win this game. I'll ask you this though. Ryan Tannehill currently, I think he's doubtful to questionable. They said it's an uphill battle for him to play this game. Does it help or hurt Henry if Malik Willis is in at quarterback? I
personally think there's going to be some overreactions here to Tannehill's absence. That's my personal opinion. If he ends up not playing, I still think you're just going to see an insane workload out of Derrick Henry here. Like, do I think it helps him? No, I'm not saying it helps him, but I'm not like, oh man, Malik Willis, this is terrible. Now Derrick Henry's going to have an awful game. I really don't see that being the case. And as a matter of fact, like just, look at some of these other games we've seen from Henry. Why would you not run the ever living hell out of this guy as you're trying to make the playoffs? Or do you want to lean like, okay, maybe Willis steals a few rushing opportunities, but how many of them are going to be designed? They're probably going to be, passing plays that he decides to run on and then has a couple design plays. Like I'm not letting that bother me too. It's going to be 12 degrees in Tennessee for this game.
Yeah. So I think I'm with you that it's probably not going to affect me. I don't love it, just like the introduction of a new variable. Like we've just seen what Henry has done, what we would expect him to do in this game with Tannehill. I don't love the new variable of a new quarterback who's not very good. I mean, frankly, we've seen him this year. He has not looked like an NFL quarterback. Obviously, he's a rookie, so hopefully he can get better throughout the year. But certainly, I don't think it helps Henry to have a quarterback who doesn't seem to be capable, because in the defense, once again, can just try to stop the run, force him to throw. But like you said, I think that the most likely outcome here is the Titans are just going to try to run them into the ground. The Texans, who knows if they're even capable of stopping the run? They're 24th in terms of rush DVOA per Football Outsiders. So it's a great spot for Henry. And he looks great in our tools. Like, all of that aside, this is, the ownership show, so we can talk about ownership relative to odds of success. Henry is projected for 27% ownership with a 32% chance to be an optimal. So we've got positive leverage. Despite being fairly chalky, we see positive leverage here. Yeah, I like Henry quite a bit.
Also, for what it's worth, so this you'll find this interesting, Neil. Earlier this season, Tannehill was absent a couple times, right?
Yep.
Kansas City, and the other game, Houston. Derrick Henry had 32 attempts for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That is so nuts. 32 attempts.
With Malik Willis starting.
Okay. So, yeah, they knew in that game that they just need to try to stop the run, and they could not stop the run, which is not a surprise against Derrick Henry. Yeah, I'm expecting a big game here.
Me too. How much do you like McCaffrey?
Yeah, I like McCaffrey a bit. I mean, he looks great in the tools also, which that one surprised me a little bit more, just because the 49ers, what do they have? They have a 23 implied team total. The Commanders are 4th against the rush in terms of DVOA. So it looks like a tough spot on paper, but then of course we know Christian McCaffrey also very involved in the passing game. The Commanders also 15th in terms of DVOA against the pass. Christian McCaffrey looks pretty great for us in the boom bust tool, projecting for 25.3% ownership with a 40% chance of being optimal. That is nuts. Like, you just don't see that very often, especially for a player who's 8,800 to have a 40% chance of being optimal. He looks incredible in our tools. Obviously the price is high, and the matchup isn't great, but he's just, when he's healthy, he's so involved in the offense. So I think we can expect a big game from Christian McCaffrey. I'm certainly expecting it, and I'm going to be playing some McCaffrey in DFS.
It's tough with Alvin Kamara. It's been rough. I think Larry had said something about earlier in the show about just like his route participation last week. I get that. I do. But at the same time, Dalton only threw 17 times or something like that. That was one of those games where they were just trying to dominate on the ground against a team with a rookie quarterback that we saw, could not throw the football. If we're looking at this spot, and granted, Alvin Kamara still had 23 looks in that game. Right. It was underwhelming. Again, it's been real tough for Kamara. If you had him that one week, it was great. If you've had him essentially any other week, there were a couple of weeks where he didn't score, that he had big yardage totals, but for the most part, it's been a rough go for him this year. I'm not reading too much into the fact that he wasn't getting a ton of opportunities as far as routes run go. Like, I mean, you look at Olave. He ran 18 routes in that game, right? Jarvis ran 14. Kamara ran 9. Rashid, he ran 20, but I don't know. I think you probably are looking at a game where Kamara would need to get things done on the ground. The interesting thing about this spot, though, Neil, is Cleveland's run defense is very bad. Can they play it a little bit differently given the weather and the conditions? I think that's entirely possible. But their run defense stinks. Even in that win against Baltimore, where Baltimore only scored 3 points, the Browns still coughed up a ton of rushing production, and they did so on not that many attempts. They allowed 198 rushing yards last game. So maybe this is a spot where Kamara can get there. You've got him, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Ramondre Stevenson, all at kind of similar price points, although Barkley's kind of in no man's land. Where do you go with all these other guys that are 13+% owned, but aren't up there in the same tier as McCaffrey and Henry?
Yeah, so Kamara, I'll start there. It's very interesting because he's got a good matchup against a really bad Cleveland defense. What are they? Cleveland is 30th in terms of rush DVOA and 16th in terms of pass DVOA. So probably the Saints already want to be running the ball. And then on top of that, we've got 20 to 30 mile per hour sustained winds with gusts in the 40s. It's going to be a windy game. They're probably not going to be able to throw the ball a ton. So
lowest total of the year,
yeah.
32.5.
So route participation, I would care more if I thought they were going to be throwing the ball anyway. I think that all we care about is the handoffs here. As you said, Kamara did have 21 carries in the most recent game. Great spot against Atlanta. I was surprised at how poorly he did. Of course, he was pretty chalky in that game, and we all, he failed for all of us. So I don't think he's going to do much this week in terms of the passing game. Could be wrong. It could be, as you said earlier, we could see that they just need to throw it shorter because of the wins, and maybe Kamara actually benefits. So it could be that he actually ends up getting more targets because of the wind. But either way, I think they're going to just be more inclined to run the ball also. So I actually think that it's a pretty good spot for Kamara. And if they do just do more on the ground as opposed to even trying to throw it, I think he's more likely to get that 100-yard bonus and hopefully get a touchdown in a great matchup with the Browns. So I think that it's a fairly good spot for Kamara, despite the win, despite the, what is their, they have an implied total below 15, 14.75 implied team total. So it's not a spot where the Saints are expected to score a lot, but I expect Kamara to be doing a lot of the damage, and he is only 6,800. So I think he's a fine play. Looking at the boom bust tool, he actually looks pretty bad though. I should say 10.5% projected ownership. We only have him with a 4% chance of being optimal.
Wow.
Which, doesn't really surprise me when you look at the 14.75 implied team total. Like, you got to, he's not going to project all that well with that kind of team total. But, I think that there's certainly a possibility that Kamara is able to run on this team despite their focus on stopping the run. Kamara is a fine play, but we do see a good amount of negative leverage there. So maybe don't play a ton. Maybe use some caution there. Don't just expect Kamara to smash because it's a great matchup, because there are some flaws in that script as well. Saquon Barkley, we have. It's a great spot, honestly. I do have some interest in Saquon Barkley at 7,900 against the Vikings, projected for 17% ownership. So, he's not low owned, not the chalkiest either. 15.2% chance of being optimal. Love the spot again against the Vikings. The Vikings are 15th in terms of rush DVOA, 27th in terms of pass DVOA. I don't know. It's one of the better spots on the week for Saquon Barkley. So I do think he's certainly viable. Ramondre Stevenson, 7,100, projected for 12.8% ownership, 15.3% chance of being optimal. Not the best spot against the Bengals. They're fairly middling. The Patriots have a 19 implied team total. He's just so involved in all aspects of the offense for the Patriots that it's hard not to have some interest in Stevenson. By the way, I agree with your take. I had not thought about it before I heard you explaining to Adam what you think happens, that it's actually Stevenson's fault and not Jacoby Myers.
Man.
After you said it, I was like, you're totally right. There's no way Jacoby Myers is lateraling that if he doesn't have it lateral to him first. Yeah. So
it was still dumb on his part.
Yeah.
But it froze him up.
Yeah. I heard Ben is skeptical, but I'm a believer in your theory that he just got so scrambled because of that.
I'd rather have your endorsement anyway.
So I'm with you on the take, and I still like Stevenson, despite blaming him for that screw up. I still think that Stevenson is a very good play this week. We've got positive leverage on him. Outside of those, Delvin Cook, also in a great matchup with that Giants defense. He's 7,200, 14.3% projected ownership, 11.7% chance of being optimal. One of the more likely to be optimal on the slate. The Giants are 31st in terms of rush DVOA, so second best matchup in the entire league for a running back in terms of DVOA. The Vikings have a 26 implied team total, should be able to score some points. So I like Delvin Cook quite a bit as well. I think we've covered the main. Tony Pollard, 7,000. I never know what to do with Pollard and Zeke. Zeke actually had a pretty good game this past weekend. But Pollard coming in at 10.5% projected ownership, 8.4% chance of being optimal against the Eagles defense that is worse against the run. They are 20th in terms of rush DVOA. So a little bit of a run funnel there. They're second against the pass. So decent spot for Pollard, although he's also pretty involved in the passing game. He's playable. Any others?
It's really the only way that teams are being able to compete with Philly right now is running the football.
You want to slow the game down? Yeah.
Yeah. We saw the only loss. Washington ran the ball 49 times. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It really wouldn't if Ezekiel Elliott ends up having himself a game. It's just tough because, he's still splitting opportunities with Tony Pollard. but they're both getting a lot of opportunities is the thing. We still don't know if it's going to be Jalen Hurts or Gardner Minshew. That's another thing. It makes things difficult. I will say, though, there are some lower-owned players that stand out to me as viable, and Miles Sanders is one of them this week. Everyone's going to be down on Sanders after last week. It was preposterous what happened. Like, he literally did not touch the ball until there were less than 7 minutes remaining in the second quarter. Crazy, especially considering the game was competitive at that point. They weren't throwing the football. Jalen Johnson was locking down A.J. Brown. Very odd stuff. I swear sometimes you get these coaches, smart coaches too, but like they go into games with a game plan where they're like, they probably expect us to come out here running. We're just going to throw on them, go up by 21 early. And then if it doesn't work, they keep trying it and don't revert back to, tried and true. And Hurts said, like, it was freezing cold. They go, you're going to get games like that in Philly at the Link. He's like, not like this. That's what he's saying. He goes, not like this, not with that wind. Couldn't feel his fingers. Why are you not running the football? It's insanity, especially given that Miles Sanders is so efficient and the offensive line is so good. This game is going to be in warmer weather, of course, in a dome. But like, do you not think? I am of the assumption that we don't know ever what's going to happen, but that Miles Sanders could have one of those 20 carry games. And then if you're considering too that Gardner Minshew could start this one, and you don't have that rushing upside from Jalen Hurts, but you still have Goddard, who's back. He was activated. You still have A.J. Brown. You still have Devontae Smith. You could see a very balanced attack here, assuming the game stays close. So right now we have Sanders at 5% ownership at 6,200. That is something to me that I don't think is all that crazy at all. It's risky, but in large field tournaments, risky Miles Sanders 2 weeks ago was winning tournaments for people. That's all there is to say about that.
Yeah, no, I think that Miles Sanders definitely interesting. I'll ask this. So somebody in chat asked, I'm curious your opinion. What are the odds Hurts sits? What do you think the odds are?
Well, they need one more win to lock up the first number 1 seed home field advantage in the bye. They got games coming up against the Saints and the New York Giants. So with that in mind, I think it's probably a pain tolerance thing that he could play through. Don't forget, he launched that beautiful deep ball to A.J. Brown and, ended up, they orchestrated a nice little victory there where they were up by 12 with just a couple minutes to go. Jalen Hurts did a lot after that injury. Yeah. Do I think he could play? Yeah. I would not be surprised at all if he didn't, though. I still think it's closer to 50-50 right now without a Wednesday practice report.
Okay. I was going to say like 90% chance he sits based on the reports I've seen, but I've seen, it's been very mixed the way they're reporting it. I don't know that it matters either way though. Yeah, I think Sanders definitely interested. So Sirianni actually came out after the game and said, we need to get him the ball more. So, I mean, it's coach speak, obviously. What do you make of that? But I think it's true that they need to get him the ball more. So maybe for the coach to say that, maybe you can factor that in a little bit, that potentially he gets back to the opportunities you expect. What I don't love is the matchup though with this Cowboys defense. I mean, I expected them to run all over the Bears, and for some reason they didn't go that way. Cowboys defense a lot tougher. They're 10th against the rush. They are 4th against the pass. So it's not like it's they're better against the pass than the run or anything, but they're just a much better defense. So I don't love the spot as much. If Miles Sanders gets 20 carries, against the Bears, I would expect 150 yards against the Eagles, or sorry, against the Cowboys this week. 20 carries might be 80 yards. So doesn't necessarily do as much for me. But now, as you said, the ownership coming in much lower. He's still just 6,200. We're projecting for 5.1% ownership, 5.8% chance to be an optimal. And Miles Sanders, he against anybody, if he does get 20 carries, he can bust off a long run and score a touchdown. So definitely has the upside for a big game, as we see in the tools. 5.8% chance of being optimal. I think he's definitely a solid play at low ownership, despite the tough matchup with the
What are
Cowboys.
you doing with McKinnon if he's chalk? Because right now we got him at 17%, third highest owned running back.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, just looking at our boom bust tool, he looks like one of the worst plays on the slate in terms of being over-owned relative to his odds of success. 17.2% projected ownership, 6.5% chance of being optimal. Just does not look like a great play for us in this matchup. It is a great matchup against Seattle, which probably partly accounts for the high projected ownership. The Chiefs have a 29 implied team total against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 28th in terms of rush DVOA, 19th in terms of past DVOA. So it's a pretty great spot for McKinnon. I kind of understand the ownership. And actually, let me look up his route participation rate just to double check that it is as high as I think it is, because it feels like they are just going to McKinnon constantly. Yeah, I think given his involvement lately, it's hard to fault people for wanting to play McKinnon. But if he's going to be 20% owned, it makes it a little bit tough for me. I kind of wonder if we should be pivoting a little bit. Just pulling up McKinnon's recent game logs. Yeah, so he did run routes 67% of the time, 29 routes run last week, along with 10 carries. The week prior to that, 6 carries and 22 routes run. We have seen just like a trend upward in terms of opportunities for McKinnon, which is pretty interesting. And, with the success he's had, I'd be kind of surprised if they go away from him here. So he should have some opportunities, but obviously the ownership reflects that. But then that also makes me a little bit interested in Isaiah Pacheco. If we're going to see McKinnon get, the 20% ownership, we've got Pacheco coming in. He's 5,700, just 200 cheaper, 4.7% projected ownership, 6.4% chance to be an optimal. I think I'd rather go there, even though it's a little bit scary. McKinnon clearly has taken on a larger role. But Pacheco now is getting very little ownership, and he's been pretty involved too. So I think I might prefer the pivot to Pacheco.
Okay. Yeah, Pacheco needs to do it on the ground for sure. It is interesting, and Larry pointed this out. Yeah, that McKinnon's snap share went pretty crazy recently. 57% week 14, 62% to Pacheco's 35 last week. CW 89. Any love for Singletary as a pivot off of McKinnon? Weather will be shit in Chicago this weekend. Making sure my snowblower works today. Yeah, I started mine up the other week too, and I was shocked. It started right up. I didn't use it once last year. Didn't need to, but that baby started right up, and we're in business.
Nice.
Dude, the snowblower changes the game. I'll tell you that much.
I don't have a snowblower. Maybe I need one.
You gotta get one. Dude, changes the game. Instead of throwing your back out, do you have a long driveway?
No, so I don't.
Do you have a driveway?
I don't have a driveway. I have a sidewalk that I need to clear. I obviously have to shovel a bit of my backyard for my dog to have a place to go to the bathroom, and then like behind the garage and stuff. But I don't have a driveway, so it's not a ton that I need to shovel. Okay. But yeah, I do always end up with a sore back every time I shovel naturally. So yeah, it definitely would be nice. Maybe that's what I should have asked for Christmas.
Yeah, you should have. I saw some guy and it got all these likes, and I'm thinking this guy does not live in bad weather. Like he must be lying. Someone was like, so they were showing, remember the Buffalo in Orchard Park, what was it, like a month ago or whatever, the lake effect snow, the real bad one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why does this guy have they were showing a picture of it. Why does this guy have his cars in the driveway and not in the garage? And the guy goes, someone tweets and it gets all these likes. And he goes, well, because there's less snow then you have less snow on the driveway to clean up. And I'm thinking, what an idiotic statement that is. And people are just blindly going along with it. You still have to clear the snow off the car, right? But not only that, how annoying is it to clear 4 feet off a fucking car, right? Yeah. You have to get up there. I have the squeegee things. You push it off, but then it falls on your driveway again. Do you know how much easier it is, Neil, to take a snowblower and just go straight lines and knock it out without I was about to respond and I was like, you know what? Let it go. This idiot.
I didn't see this story, so I have no idea what you're referring to. This story that you're talking about.
What?
I've never seen this story that you're talking about with the guy who kept his car on the driveway.
It was just a tweet.
I'm with you though. It's an idiot thing. Yeah.
No, it was just a tweet and the picture was somebody doing. The trick is, for those of you that might be new to cold weather, if you're going to get a big storm, you have to go out there multiple times. You have to keep pace with it. So if you get 4 or 5 inches, go out, take care of it. And then another half an inch or half a foot, go out there, take care of it. The worst mistake you can make, Neil, and you live in Minnesota, is waiting till the entire storm is over and then going out and trying to shovel a blizzard off your driveway and your sidewalk. At critical error.
Not fun. It is not fun. I'll tell you that. I mean, the past week, I think I've shoveled. There were periods where I was shoveling like 3 times a day because the snow just kept coming in Minnesota. And of course, we have to keep our sideways cleared. We're on a sort of busy street. Man, yeah, I need to think about getting a snow. I've never even thought about getting a snowblower. I have a big, like a shovel that's like a sled shovel. So it's like a very large shovel that, it just takes, one time up, one time down on the sidewalk to clear it. But snowblower would be a lot easier.
Yeah, give it a whirl.
It's pretty heavy out there.
Exactly.
Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary was the question.
Yeah.
So I had concerns about Devin Singletary's workload, and it looks like it was a little bit lower in weeks 13 and 14, kind of like he only ran 11 routes each of those weeks, and he had 21 total carries. Came up a little bit against Miami. He had 13 total carries, 18 routes run, so kind of normalizing a little bit. Looks like his workload is basically back to what it had been earlier in the year. He appears to still be the lead back, and it is a great situation, a great spot for the Bills against the Bears. They have a 24.75 implied team total. The Bears 30th in terms of pass DVOA, 27th in terms of rush DVOA. Definitely looks like a pretty good leverage spot because they are, as you said, they're probably going to need to be running the ball a lot in some bad weather. Where do we have the ownership on Singletary? Give me a minute. I'm just going to find him.
On Singletary?
5.9%. Oh, so we actually have negative leverage here. 5.9% projected ownership, 1.8% chance to be an optimal. He's 5,400. I still think that he's a fine play. Like I don't know. So I don't know exactly what information goes into the sims. I'm not sure if they account for the fact that, because the total is so low, that's going to bring down projections. But I don't know how much they factor in, like, well, because of the weather, it's likely that more of the game plan is going to be on the ground versus through the air. And I think that's something that could benefit Singletary that might not be accounted for. It might be totally accounted for, but I think that probably I like Singletary a little bit better than this would suggest, just as a positive, a guy who could see a large workload in this matchup, in a great matchup with Chicago. I do have some interest there.
Let's talk about wide receivers. Before we do, though, we got prize picks for you, baby. That's right. Free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. They're doing their 12 days specials as well. Doing big things over there. A lot of money to be made. They now added where you can do 6 picks to 25x. It used to be, if you hit all 5, you 10x. If you hit 4, you 2x, which is still nice. Like you're still making money back on essentially parlays, right? They're called lineups. You still make money back. As a matter of fact, if you hit 3 of 5, all you're doing is taking props, putting them into a lineup. Can be mixed sports too. You want to do like NFL, NBA, and NHL all in the same one? You can do that over at Prize Picks. Very, very cool format. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, be sure when you do to use the link in the description or the one that Tyler can throw in the chat, because not only do you get up to $100 first match deposit bonus, you also get all of our tools at Stokastic, a Stokastic Plus Platinum monthly subscription, $120 value. That's football, hockey, NBA, MMA, PGA with that, like everything, all of our tools, ownership, player projections, the new lineup generator, top stack tool, the boom bust tool that you've heard Neil referencing, all that stuff, 100% free when you sign up over at Prize Picks using the link in the description. It's well worth taking advantage of. And fortunately for you, if you haven't yet, you're not just going to a site that's no good where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this just so I can get the free month of Stokastic. No, you're going to end up playing there because it's blowing up and people love it. And you're getting up to $100 first match deposit bonus in the process. So check it out. prizepicks.com. Link is in the description. Once you use that link and sign up, download the app too. Real smooth app. Very nice app. Sponsor of the strategy show, Prize Picks. And last thing, if you use this link and you do sign up, you get your free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and you're taking advantage of all the tools. Jump in the premium Discord as well. Great community around there. You want to take advantage of all the stuff that we have, not just some of it, while you're there for the month and hopefully longer. But if it's only a month, it's only a month, and you check it out and hopefully win some money in the process. All right. Wide receivers. DK Metcalf. We did a new run with Lock It Out. Good. Okay. So DK Metcalf, I think is just a fantastic play with Lockett sidelined here. You can't go wrong with Jefferson. I'm a little bit less. I'm less high on Amon-Ra St. Brown this week, I think, than the field will be. Jamar Chase against New England. That's an interesting matchup. We'll see how that plays out. He's expensive, but I do agree with ownership right now in the top tier. Like Jefferson and Metcalf are my 2 favorite options at wide receiver this week.
Yeah, it's going to be cold in that Kansas City game, but the winds aren't looking like they're going to be too terrible, so it shouldn't really affect Metcalf all that much. I agree with you. Yeah, no Tyler Lockett. You would think that TK Metcalf is just going to be a target monster here.
He already has
Seattle.
a 27% target share with Lockett on the field.
Right. So yeah, and it's only going to go up without Lockett. And we've got him projected for 18% ownership. So we have some negative leverage at a 13.7% chance to be an optimal. But even with that, I mean, you got to play guys, some guys who just project well, and DK Metcalf is obviously one of those guys who is going to project really well in this matchup with the Chiefs. They're probably going to need to be throwing the ball to keep up with the Chiefs. A lot to like there. And then also, I mean, with Tyler Lockett out, Marquise Goodwin is an obvious beneficiary. He's only 4,300. Now he's the presumptive wide receiver 2 here for Seattle in this matchup with the Chiefs, where the Chiefs have a bad defense and Seattle is going to need to try to keep up with them. We've got Marquise Goodwin projected for just 8.5% ownership, 8.4% chance to be an optimal. So, not a great leverage spot according to our tools, but definitely somebody that you can play to save some salary. He should be involved in the passing game in a great matchup with the Chiefs. Outside of those two, I mean, yeah, as you said, Justin Jefferson just looks great. It's one of the best matchups you can hope for against the Giants. They are 24th in terms of pass DVOA. Great spot for Justin Jefferson. The Vikings have a 26 implied team total. Obviously, he's going to get the volume as well. So hard not to like Jefferson. And then on the other side of it, Isaiah Hodgins, I was just looking up his stats because he looked great in the tools. 7.8% projected ownership, 19.1% chance to be an optimal. Obviously, a great matchup with the Vikings. They're 27th in terms of pass DVOA. And then I'm just looking at the routes run data. The past 3 weeks, 29, 33, and 29 routes run. That's 83%, 85%, and 91% of routes run for Hodgins here. Now he's got the great matchup with the Vikings, a game that we could see some major fireworks. He hasn't been targeted a crazy amount, but he has been targeted the past 4 games, actually 4, 6, 6, and 4 targets. So he is getting some opportunities. I'd like to see that come up a little bit more. I'm not going to have huge confidence in the play with that kind of target volume, but the matchup is clearly great. He's only 4,100. As I said, 7.8% projected ownership. I don't know actually if I said this, 7.8% projected ownership, 19.1% chance to be an optimal. So great spot for Isaiah Hodgins as well. Amon-Ra, yeah, 7,800. The price seems about right. 16.5% projected ownership, 16.4% chance of being optimal. It is a good spot against the Panthers. The Lions have a 23 implied team total. The Panthers 21st in terms of pass DVOA. Some interest there. And then on the other side of that game, we've got DJ Moore in that matchup with the Lions defense, 22nd in terms of pass DVOA. The Panthers have a 20.5 implied team total. DJ Moore is just 5,500. The price is right. 13.4% projected ownership, 17.2% chance to be an optimal. Looks great in the tools. I have some interest there as well. Those are the guys jumping off the page at me to start. I guess Adam Thielen I'll throw in there. I feel like I've talked too much about Adam Thielen this year. He's been largely disappointing from a fantasy perspective, but he's 5,300. Again, that same matchup with the Giants defense, pretty great spot. 8.2% projected ownership, 11.7% chance to be an optimal. He's still getting opportunities. So Adam Thielen certainly playable. The other New York receivers also going back to that same game, both Richie James, Darius Slayton, we've got some positive leverage on. 9.2% projected ownership, 10.9% chance to be an optimal for Richie James. Darius Slayton, 7.6% projected ownership, 10.2% chance to be an optimal. Man, Slayton is 5,200. Kind of surprised to see the positive leverage on Slayton when he's 5,200. All these guys, should have some opportunities against this Vikings defense. So that's a game that I'm just going to want to target again. Man, what do we do with KJ Osborne after the game he had last week? Are they going to give him more opportunities because he played so great last week? What do we have his price at? We got KJ Osborne at 4,500. Yeah, we've only projected him for 3.8% ownership. Do you think I don't know if that's realistic after the game he had last weekend?
I still think it's an outlier. I mean, he had an 11 target game against Buffalo in week 10 and then had 11 combined targets over the next 4 weeks. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely with you that it's an outlier, but will the field see it as an outlier? How much?
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, his price came up $800. It's in a dome, which is pretty beneficial when you consider how many other games are in really terrible conditions. So I don't hate it. Somebody similarly priced is Drake London. Massive target share last week. The problem here is that like Desmond Ridder is not very good. He's a 3rd-round rookie. They don't have a very competent offense right now. They're going up against a Baltimore defense that has been locking things down of late. But yeah, if you're hauling in 46% of all of the targets, of course, that 46% of how many targets was it? Like 23 or like 20 targets, 26 targets. It's still a lot. I mean, I think now that he's at 4,800, you can make an argument for Ridder or for Kenyon, for Drake London in this game. Do I love it? No, but at the same time, like, yes, it's going to be cold. It's going to be not too windy there, but you're not going to have horrible weather. You might just run into a situation where Drake London gets another double-digit target game, and if he catches 70 of them for 70 and a touchdown, then you get there. But
they have a 15 implied team total. I'll just throw that in there for the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of these teams have brutal implied totals, and
right.
Drake is a take it or leave it for me here. Honestly, like I don't.
Same.
I think that the fact that he's clearly, and I don't see why that would change from week to week with him being the number one. Look at the rest of this team. There's not a lot of, he's a top half of the 1st-round pick. First receiver off the board. Like I still think London's going to continue to see a lot of work, but yeah, Goodwin is 4,300. I would be surprised if he only comes in at 8%. That to me seems like a spot where he's got to be more popular.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
It seems unlikely that he's really only 8. There's just not a ton of really good value on this slate. That's the problem. Like I considered going back to Rashid Shaheed, but that is the worst weather game of the week, all things considered. And he's already a sketchy player in a low passing volume offense. Like, maybe you're right. Maybe if KJ Osborne really is only 3% and Drake's going to come in around, 10%, Drake London, maybe KJ Osborne is a good pivot, but I think that ownership probably changes throughout the week because there's just not a lot of good value on this slate. Like I might go to DeMarcus Robinson just because, Duvernay's gone. I don't think it looks like Jackson might not play, but Robinson's still 4K and he's technically their wide receiver 1 behind Mark Andrews, of course. Not a lot here.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just going back to the point with KJ Osborne. I'm not necessarily recommending him. I'm saying I would have interest if he does stay at we currently have for his projected ownership. I don't think that ownership is necessarily realistic. So what it does come up with, my guess is that people will be chasing. If it is really 3.8%, that would not indicate that people are chasing it. And if other people are not chasing it, then that's where I would want to take shots on KJ Osborne. But I just think, the way people think, I don't think that he's going to be so low owned after we saw such a great game.
I agree.
Last weekend. Drake London, it's tough because he's obviously a great playmaker. He'll have some opportunities. It's also a tough spot against the Ravens, and he has Desmond Ridder throwing him the ball, rookie quarterback. So there's pros, there's cons. I'm with you. It's take it or leave it. It's a great way to describe Drake London this weekend. I think that we've covered most of. I feel like we always have to throw in the name Gabe Davis just because I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what to do with these Buffalo receivers. I think this is a game, and I kind of hate this, where I think that Josh Allen could have a very good game without any of his receivers doing all that much just because of the weather. Like it might be a spot where they just say, you know what, we can't really throw in this weather. Let's just run the ball, pound it with both Singletary and Josh Allen. Makes it really tough.
I don't, you might be completely right here. Maybe they've changed the philosophy. This is like the one team that hates doing that. Last year in that game where the wind was blowing kicks backwards, Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times and Allen still threw 30 times in that game. Like, he played at Wyoming. I don't know how deterred he's going to be from playing in a game like this, at least not from throwing the football.
I hope not. Yeah, I would, because it's definitely a game that, if this were in a dome, like this would be the game of the week. Probably you'd just be attacking this
big time
Bills offense.
Probably 53 total or something.
Yeah, and it makes it tough with gusts up to 35 miles per hour, sustained winds throughout the game. Makes it a little bit tough to trust the quarterback, but then again, maybe it just leads to some shorter throws, and I still think these guys can get it done on shorter throws. Diggs, we've got 11.4% projected ownership, 11% chance of being optimal. He's 8,500. Gabe Davis all the way down to 5,000, 7.2% projected ownership, 8% chance of being optimal against a really bad defense for the Bears. So hard not to have some interest in these guys. Really, the only real concern is that whether they just might not, even if they want to throw the ball out, they might not be able to throw the ball as well in that kind of wind. So that's the only concern there. But
no, I agree with you there. I'm just saying, I assume that he's still going to, like, maybe they could definitely go to the ground a little more, but it's hard to think they're not. I don't see this being one of those games where it's like Josh Allen throws 18 times. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I think all right, let's talk about tight ends here.
Okay.
And then we'll get to some top stacks. One more thing for you guys. The Hall of Fame segment that we do is always in between our live shows, right? Like, so if you're watching Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock for football or basketball or anything, we have the Hall of Fame segment. All of you guys that get up on there, that get inducted into the Hall of Fame, that win your free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, that are rocking the avatar, all that. I record it with Jordan Klein, produce every week. He cuts it. We put it up there and we get that segment for you guys. Just so you know, it is very, very much still a thing. And if you want to get involved, you want to get a free month, you want to get inducted, we'll have us brag for you. Go to stokastic.com/avatar, download the profile picture and tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame, right? Screenshot and maybe some nice words. Or some people just like to put at Stokastic HOF. That's okay too. Doesn't matter. But if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. You're getting in the Hall of Fame, and we'll do all that work for you. And if you're wondering, hey, man, I just would love to use the tools. I'd love to get up here, but I don't have the money right now. But these tools that Neil uses and everyone uses would make me a better player, but it's a tough spot. Well, I told you about Prize Picks. If Prize Picks isn't available to you, BetMGM probably is. And you get all of our tools for free for 2 calendar months. 2 entirely free for 2 months. When you go to BetMGM, use the link. It has to be the link. We can't find you otherwise, like you guys know. Take $10. Use that $10. Put it on anything, not like an odds boost. You know how this stuff works. Put it on, a spread or a total or a prop. And after that bet settles, you're getting 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All of our tools at your disposal for the entirety of 2 months. So now you can backdoor your way into using these tools, to getting in the Hall of Fame, to taking advantage of that. And when you use that link, you're getting a risk-free bet up to $1,000. So no matter how much you bet, up to 1,000, whatever it is, if that first bet loses, you're getting it all back in free bets after it loses, plus 2 months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. So, hey, come join us there. Come join us at Stokastic. Join us in the Hall of Fame as well, and check that out. Links in the description and in chat. All right, let's go to tight ends here. I'm just surprised that Noah Fant's only getting 5% right now, 6%. Dallas Goedert is very intriguing to me at 4,500 now that he's returned, no matter who's at quarterback. The question is, like, are you paying 8,000 for Travis Kelce this week?
Yeah, you just named some of the tight ends that I'm the most interested in. Obviously, Kelce, yeah, he's the most expensive by far. He's going to project the best by far. We have some negative leverage there. 20.1% projected ownership, 13.4% chance to be an optimal. Obviously, a great game environment against Seattle. Travis Kelce, if you've got the cash, you're probably paying up for Travis Kelce. He makes a lot of sense in some builds. Certainly makes sense in some Mahomes stacks or run backs. I like Travis Kelce quite a bit. Noah Fant, yeah, it's you'd think that he should benefit from Tyler Lockett being out. He scored the touchdown in the last game. He's just 3,400. Now he's also got a great matchup with Kansas City. Projected him for 5.9% ownership, just a 5.2% chance to be an optimal. So we do have some negative leverage there, but man, in that matchup with the Chiefs at 3,400, I do have interest in Noah Fant. Could also be a run back in some Chief stacks, or obviously if you're doing Seattle stacks, he would make sense as well. Yeah, Dallas Goedert, just 4,500 in his return. We've got positive leverage here, 6.1% projected ownership, 7.2% chance to be an optimal. Looks really interesting. TJ Hawkinson, I've talked a lot about this Vikings-Giants game. It's obviously a game environment that I love. I love it when we get two offenses that are, I shouldn't call them great offenses. I shouldn't call the Giants a great offense.
They are not.
two offenses that have been relatively successful against two really bad defenses. The Vikings are a great offense. I will say that. I can say it. I almost had to bite my tongue after they gave up, after they almost got crushed in the last game. We're getting crushed in the first half, and then they turned it on in the second half and showed that they are one of the best offenses in the NFL. So that was pretty exciting for me.
And one of the worst defenses.
And one of the worst defenses. Yeah, that's exactly.
Like, were you impressed with that game, or did you come away not knowing what to think about that?
It's been the entire season for the Vikings. Like I do not think of the Vikings as being Super Bowl contenders. If I'm being honest, I want them to be. I'm cheering for them. I don't see them competing. Like, I think that if they get the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts is back, if they get the Eagles, the Cowboys, these teams are they're just better than the Vikings overall.
Maybe it gives them some momentum. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm hopeful. But regardless, from a DFS perspective, I like TJ Hawkinson quite a bit in this matchup with the Giants. He's just 4,900. He's very involved in the offense for the Vikings, projected for 9.1% ownership, 16.7% chance to be an optimal. I like TJ Hawkinson quite a bit. And then again, that same game, as we're talking about the Vikings having such a bad defense, Daniel Bellinger doesn't really stand out from a tools perspective. A little bit. He looks good, but 4.2% projected ownership, 5.1% chance to be an optimal for Daniel Bellinger. He's just 3,300. And if you look at his game log, he, in this past game against Washington, ran routes on 91% of plays. He ran 29 routes on that game, 98.4% snap share. He's the clear tight end one for the Giants. He only had one reception on 4 targets in that game, but yeah, it's hard not to have some interest in Daniel Bellinger. I think he's got talent, and now he's got a great matchup with the Vikings coming in at low ownership at a low price tag. Hard not to have a lot of interest in Daniel Bellinger for me. Yeah, those are the guys that on the. I don't think I mentioned Mark Andrews, but he looks great. 5,500, 8.6% projected ownership, 13.7% chance to be an optimal, just according to our tools. Dalton Schultz kind of surprises me how good he looks in our tool. 7.9% projected ownership, 18% chance of being optimal against the Eagles. That surprises me a bit, but he's just 4,200. Sometimes you just got to trust the tools, and the tools love Dalton Schultz here as well.
They do. I mean, Chigakonkwo in that weird weather, especially without Tannehill, that's pretty much a no-go at this point, assuming Tannehill doesn't play. We don't know. Tannehill's an Iron Man. I know he's missed some games, but if he can play, he will play. So I wouldn't rule him out quite yet.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on Kittle right now. Great game. He's amazing. This is no indictment on Kittle's talent. He's awesome. He's still awesome. We saw it. And we all know, if you've watched Kittle over the years, we all know that. But the pass volume is still, leaves a lot to be desired in a game like that. It could be Ayuk this week. Who knows? It could all be McCaffrey. I don't know. I do like Schultz at 4,200. I will go back to some Dawson Knox this week as well. He's seen a considerable uptick in opportunities recently. And even last week on that Saturday night game against Miami, he dropped 2 passes back to back, and Allen continued to return to him. He had his best game of the season. I don't mind Dawson Knox against a terrible pass defense for Chicago either. I think we hit on everyone here.
Yeah, I think we did too. I think we touched, we talked about the most relevant guys, at least for now. And of course, I'll be doing the Saturday strategy show in the morning on Saturday. So if I think of anybody else that we want to talk about, I'll bring it up there.
I'll be drinking.
8 a.m. on Saturday, you'll be drinking?
That might be a little early, but probably by 9.
I guess that is 9 a.m. for you. So yeah. Wow, well, that's early. That's early.
We're having dude. When we went to the Eagles game and we took the bus down there to tailgate against the Commanders, we cracked beers, I think. My buddy came and picked me up because he lives in the city. I don't. And I was like, listen, man, I'm not driving down there and then driving home, even though it's pretty sober by the time you get back from that drive. But he comes and picks me up at 5 a.m. We get back to his place around 6. We get on the bus probably 7:15 or so. I think we had him cracked by like 7:30.
That is so. I enjoy alcohol quite a bit, probably more than I should. I don't enjoy it before like 5 p.m. Like I do not enjoy day drinking. I get so tired if I drink during the day. I just need to save it for the night. Obviously, I do it from time to time. Like if it's an event, a bachelor party, that kind of thing, I'll drink during the day. But it's just tires me out.
I'm totally with you. You have to do it you have to have it planned out. If you're day drinking and sitting around, it's not good. Yeah. If you're day drinking and you're going to a game and you're around all of these people and you're constantly walking and moving and cheering and you're stimulated the whole time, it's way easier. And then you're not hungover the next day, which is also a huge bonus. Yeah. If you, dude, sitting around and day drinking is the death knell. Like you'll be done by 3 o'clock and sleeping by 6. I'm with you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I have events. So a group of my friends from law school, we have an event that we do. We haven't done it in a few years now since COVID. Hopefully we'll start doing it. But we call it Beer Olympics, where we're just doing, beer pong and the baseball drinking game, chugging, that kind of stuff during the day. We compete. It's like a serious competition. Beautiful. I love that. And that's obviously during the day. So at times I can really enjoy day drinking, but it's rare for me. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, we have the family coming over on Christmas Eve. So I'm not talking like shots of Jack. I'm talking, some mimosas, maybe some probably screwdrivers for me. Mimosas are a little tame. Some Bloody Mares,
Yeah. I hear you.
Ladies will do the champagne and such, but it's a fun time. You got to take advantage of these times, Neil. We won't be young forever.
That's right.
All right. Top stacks. Looking at our top stacks tool. You guys already know you want to get in on that, whether it's Prize Picks, BetMGM, or just take advantage of our 3 free days if you want to play it simple. The other ones are considerably better, but 3 free days as well. Like if you're not trying to put any money down whatsoever, 3 free days of all of our NFL content. That link's in the description in the chat as well. You get all of our NFL tools if you wanted to follow along and use these. Showdown as well. But we have, man, how about the fact that right now, let's see we have New York rated as the top stack from a rating standpoint, not top stack probability, but from a rating standpoint. Is that because of the value here? It just seems, it's got to be, but man, that's a high rating on the New York Giants.
Yeah, no, it is because of the value. I mean, we can see projected for a 6.9% ownership for Daniel Jones, only a 5.5% chance to be in the top stack, but then a 12% chance to be in the top value stack. And you just look at like every single one of the pass catching options. Darius Slayton is, I want to say like 5,200. I don't remember what the exact number was, but everybody else is relatively cheap. Daniel Bellinger, Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins I guess Isaiah Hodgins must be part of that top stack there. So it's just because they are so cheap that they're going to grade out well. And then Daniel Jones also obviously has a little bit of rushing upside. So hard not to have some interest in the Giant stack against this Vikings defense.
I agree. I like both of them here. I'm honest, dude. I don't think it's insane to say that if Minshew starts, an Eagles stack is viable. Like I really don't, because if they can protect him, the Cowboy, the way to beat this Cowboys defense is just protect the quarterback. Right? Like,
right.
If you can't protect the quarterback, the Cowboys will ravage you. And maybe that happens today or on Saturday. But if they do, Minshew's not the worst backup. He's dirt cheap. He's 4,800. I asked Ben yesterday, if Minshew started all season for the Eagles, what would he be? We agreed. Probably be like a $6,000 receiver. Getting value there, or quarterback. Getting value. He still has so many weapons at his disposal. And trust me, this is not a homer take. This is what does it open up everywhere else? Goddard, you have Devonta Smith, you have AJ Brown, or you just play it like with a single stack so you can get to your McCaffreys and your Derrick Henrys up top. But I think there are a few low-key stacks here. Philly being one of them. This line, there's a lot of buyback to it. Moved to 6.5. It's back down to 4.5. Maybe that's because Hurts' status is uncertain. I don't know. I think the Geno Smith stack with Metcalf, Goodwin, or Fant is totally reasonable. Goodwin and Fant are dirt cheap, so you're not paying a premium there. You can load up elsewhere. Just looking down the list, there are some teams here that aren't really popping, but I have some interest in.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on Minshew at just 4,800. Like he's just clearly too cheap to be.
And no bad weather there either, Neil.
No bad weather, and then obviously he has all of those receiving options. So yeah, I'm with you on Minshew. We're projecting him for just 4.5% ownership. I think I can't tell exactly what's going on, but the top stack tool I think is assuming that Jalen Hurts is in, and then the boom bust tool made the adjustment.
Yeah, because our boom when have they been updated? Because ownership was updated recently. Top stacks hasn't been. When was the boom bust updated?
Yeah,
I'm wondering if it's just different times that they were updated.
Yeah, boom bust was, oh no, it says last projections update 15 hours ago, which I know is not true. So I know either way, it doesn't really matter. I think that currently with Philly doesn't look great in the top stack tool. And I think that's because we have Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. So he's still expensive. But then they have the low total accounting for Minshew instead of Hurts, maybe is what's going on. But they only show a 4.6% chance to be in the top value stack. I have to imagine that would be higher if you account for Minshew's price tag at 4,800. I guess I don't know for sure though. But yes, definitely interest there. We talked about these other game environments that look good. The other side of that game, that's another game environment that is kind of interesting. 6.2% ownership for Dak, 6.7% chance to be in the top stack, 6.8% chance to be in the top value stack. Some positive leverage there. But then Kansas City, Seattle just stands out as another spot that you want to attack. And we've got positive leverage on both teams. Mahomes projected for 13.8% ownership, 15.1% chance to be in the top stack. And then Geno Smith projected for 5.8% ownership, 6.1% chance to be in the top stack. So positive leverage on both the quarterbacks in that game. Yeah, there are just a lot of pretty good game environments here with the Giants, Vikings, Kansas City, Seattle, to an extent, Philadelphia, Dallas. I don't like it as much just because they're both pretty good defenses, but you can make an argument for both of those teams. There are a lot of pretty interesting spots here.
There really are. It's a fun slate. It's a solid breakdown. You can follow Neil at Player Q DFS. You're on Saturday live before lock, huh?
I'm actually on. No, they're making me wake up. I curse Chris every night before bed. I say a prayer to, I don't know, have him get a splinter or something. Yeah, I'm on the early show. Like I'm on at 8 a.m. on Saturday with Greg.
Oof.
Yeah,
9
a.m.
Eastern. Be fun. Wait, so that's like the first look show then?
The first look with Greg on Saturday.
All right. Damn. You'll be all right, man. I know you're not the earliest riser, but you'll listen.
That's an understatement.
You'll get in the rhythm and then you'll just feel great for the rest. You might even start drinking right after the show's over.
It's possible. I might need to.
You should drink a beer during the show.
I am going to have football. It's going to be a fun day. I'm going to be super tired, but it's going to be a fun day on Saturday.
I'm going to tune in. Neil, I want to see you cracking one bright and early
during the show.
Yeah. Or rip a shot.
Do a coffee with a little Baileys in my coffee.
You could do that. Yeah. Yeah. Do some Baileys with a little coffee.
That's right. All
right. Hey, appreciate you guys. What else you got coming up?
Man, I've got all my regular Thursday stuff tomorrow. I've got the 2 videos about how I'm setting my fantasy cruncher for Thursday Night Football, doing my article for Thursday Night Football, and then doing live before lock tomorrow night. And then I believe I'm on with you and Eric Lindquist on Friday for the whatever show we're doing on Friday.
Nice. Yeah, that's right. We are.
I'm actually not on the calendar, but I think I was asked to do it. So I'll clarify, but I believe I'll be on with you.
That's a tournament strategy show.
Tournament strategy. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that should be fun. And then real quick before we go, someone asked about weather in Carolina. It's going to be cold, but it doesn't look like it's going to be nearly as windy or nearly as bad as any of these other spots. And then we had the free super chat come in from Ghetto Farmer Boy. Hopefully you're still here with us, dude. He said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to Team Stokastic. Thanks, brother. Happy holiday. Merry Christmas to all of you guys out there. Of course, I got the picks for every game video coming up on Odd Shopper later tonight. Every single game. Marathon matchup show tomorrow. Showdown strategy. We got the Odd Shop on the Odd Shopper. We got a lot. So we'll see you. We'll certainly see you guys again before the weekend. But if we don't, have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you back here soon. Peace.